We're talking all draft all the time today. Damian Parson of Locked On NFL Draft. What's happening at the top? Will this be a frenzy because of the lack of true blue talent in this draft, or will teams not know quite what to do? Because I don't know what to do. Hopefully Dame can spell it out for us. Overrated, underrated prospects, all that and more coming up on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Matt out today, traveling back from West Palm Beach. I hope he had a really good time rubbing elbows with owners and famous folks and media and everybody alike there. He's traveling back to his home in Pittsburgh. So we've got a very special guest on today's program, Damian Parson at DP_NFL, co-host of Locked On NFL Draft, to break down everything going on with this NFL draft. As we are now officially in April, we're in draft month. I do want to thank everybody for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you let us know you stop by, hit the thumbs up. And if you're new to the program, welcome. Subscribe, please. It helps us out tremendously on YouTube or anywhere you listen to your podcast. And today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Dame, how are you, my man? I'm sure things are busy. Like, this is a wild time of year. Like, are you trying to, cram in the tape for, prospect 250 through 350 just so you don't get surprised by one of those, seventh round picks and you're like, who is that guy? How come nobody told me this guy was going to be drafted?
Yes, definitely doing a lot of that, a lot of film cramming in, getting ready for the draft in general, and keeping, of course, the Locked On NFL Draft everydayers, keeping them equipped with knowledge and information on this draft process.
Absolutely. And you guys got to subscribe to Locked On NFL Draft. Damian and Keith do a fantastic job there. And I always, end the program here, letting everybody know to go check that out. And we'll talk a little bit more about that program and where to subscribe and where to find those guys and all that. And more about our mock draft special as well that we have. We're in pre-production right now. We're about to start filming that, which is going to be a lot of fun, seeing some of the draft picks already happening behind the scenes for our network-wide mock draft extravaganza, which is always a lot of fun. Damian will be in the booth with Matt and I and doing that up. So let's start with the top, though. We're not going to talk about prospect 250 to 300 quite yet. Although if you have some favorites there, I want you to drop those on us at the end. Let's talk about the top. It's pretty much, can we lock in Cam Ward in number one? Is that where we're at?
I think so. I think we're locking Cam Ward in to the Tennessee Titans. Was a month or so ago after the Senior Bowl. I think it was either after or before Senior Bowl when the new GM got hired. He's like, yeah, we're not going to bypass or pass up on a generational talent and different things of that nature. And, when I first saw that quote, I was like, yeah, you're not fooling me. You're not fooling me. You really want us to believe that you're going to go back in to the 2025 season with Will Levis, who got you the first overall pick this year? No, I don't think that's going to be the move. I think that, with Brian, with Coach Callahan going over year two of his tenure there as the Tennessee Titans head coach, I think it makes a lot of sense to go ahead, grab Cam Ward. He is my QB1 of this class. He has the experience. This isn't an Anthony Richardson, Malik Willis, or Trey Lance situation. This young man has played a lot of ball. 0-star recruit coming out of high school, played in the that old school Georgia Tech wing T offense. That's why he didn't have any recruits really, because they don't throw the ball in that offense. They run it all the time, right? And went and made a name for himself in the Incarnate Word, played 2 years at Washington State, and then basically gave Miami fans the ability to say the U is back in 2024. And the arm talent, the strength in the pocket, the accuracy, the ability to drop his shoulder, really loose, flexible arm to throw around defenders, but also on the move out of the pocket. This guy has franchise. I don't like to say franchise saving because the franchise has to save themselves with more decisions than quarterback, but he's a franchise caliber quarterback for me.
It starts there. And I love, you start putting it together. You start watching him and you watch Shador and the other quarterbacks and you say, okay, look, first of all, when I first saw him, I was like, is that a linebacker or a quarterback? Because he's shaped different than a lot of people talking about Steve McNair over there. Like, okay, the body type. You don't see that very often. But he's got arm, he's got athleticism, and it wasn't a guy who was transferring around because he couldn't start and wanted to find a place to play. He was elevating and then climbed the ladder, went to the next spot, elevated, climbed the ladder. And you love that. And you just love prospects and quarterback prospects now that have played a lot of football. And I'm a 49ers guy, and it just makes me think of Trey Lance, who's going to play like in the CFL now or whatever. And it's like, man, dude should have transferred and climbed the ladder and played a lot more football, man. That is the way to go. If my kid's ever in that position, God willing, you'd be like, yeah, let's not go straight from incarnate word to the NFL. Let's transfer up the ladder. Let's not go FCS to the Kyle Shanahan's offense. That feels pretty good, locked in there. And then Dame, starting at number 2, I don't know what the hell to do. What's going on? Like last week, I was like, oh, for sure it's going to be Shador Sanders at 2, because I don't know. Look, Myles Garrett got a lot of money. It could have been just about money. I really feel like it wasn't about money, and they was convinced that their plan at quarterback was good. That couldn't have been Kenny Pickett. Be like, hey, he's like, oh, never mind. I take it all back. Let's sign a contract. I want to be here forever now in Cleveland. So, and then right at the Cam Ward Pro Day, the Giants sign another veteran quarterback. So they got 2 veteran quarterbacks plus Tommy DeVito. They kind of have a full room. It's not a super exciting room, but they got a full room of quarterbacks there, 2 veterans. So they're kind of telling us that, well, we're not going to probably draft a quarterback at 3. And so that was either they don't like Shador and wouldn't draft him if he was there anyway, or they know something and they couldn't get up to 1, and they know that Shador Sanders is going number 2. So I thought for sure Shador Sanders at 2 was locked in last week. And then I think about it and I look at it now and I'm like, maybe the Giants and the Browns have kind of talked themselves into, well, look, we like Shador okay, but Jackson Dart's okay too. Maybe we could do some work and get back in. We can't really pass on these blue chippers at the top in Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. So now today where I'm at, my mock draft would look a little bit different, and I might start to see someone like Shador Sanders slide in the first round. So where are you at beyond pick number 1, 2, and 3? If you're the Giants and the Browns, is it just like, dude, don't mess around, get the blue chip guys, and then figure something else out at quarterback? And like for a Browns fan, you're probably like, we've been trying to figure out quarterback for 30 years. Can we do something here? But you also don't want to force it. And Jimmy Haslam, the owner, just said this week, we don't want to force quarterback.
No, 100%. I think that quote was very resounding. Truthfully, it's like, okay, you didn't. I don't feel like you probably forced it with the Deshaun thing, because Sean was coming off of a great year that he had, but the last time he had played, but it hasn't worked out. What you did was paid him way too much money, guaranteed, and you look foolish in doing so, right? You didn't give yourself an out in the contract just in case, hey, maybe you bought him out. You don't play well. You get hurt and nothing really works out for us. We have an out. They didn't do that. I think that quote, and then you look at, like you said, the Giants going to get both Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, 2 guys who are capable starters in this league. Yeah, I do think there's a chance he could slide past 2 and 3. I think the Giants, I have a hard time believing that they, like you said, Russ, Jameis, and Tommy DeVito, and then go with the 3rd overall pick and say, we're going to pick a quarterback that may not even start the season for us because he might be behind both veteran quarterbacks that we just paid. It doesn't, from a team building aspect, it doesn't make sense. I think if you want to grow with that, what you have in Malik Neighbors, you have Wan'Dale Robinson, Theo Johnson, the 2nd-year tight end out of Penn State. The offensive line is solid. I do think you look at BPA. I think you look at either Travis Hunter or Abdul, whichever one's there at 3, you make the call. And I think here's what I am kind of, because we did a mock draft for a Bleacher Report, and we had him sliding out down to 9 to New Orleans. New Orleans is one of those sneaky spots for a quarterback as well, mainly because Spencer Rattler was a 5th-round pick, has ability, but he wasn't drafted by this regime, this coaching staff with Kellen Moore. This could be a situation where he either falls to 9 and they select him, or if he starts slipping down the board, and then you look at certain teams in the 20s, and one of either the Browns or Giants trade up to get him. I think the Browns could go, hey, let's go Abdul Carter. You just watch Cincinnati pay both their star receivers to keep Joe Burrow happy. They're trying to make sure they keep Trey Hendrickson in-house. They're trying to push to battle. They don't even look at you as competition. They're gunning for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. You need an edge rusher opposite of Myles Garrett. Pittsburgh Steelers may not like it when I say this, but it's the truth. To me, Myles Garrett is the best edge in the game, and he's the guy who's heavily double teamed and even sometimes triple teamed. TJ Watt having Alex Highsmith and some of the guys, Nick Herbig, take that pressure off of him. Give Myles Garrett that in Abdul Carter, and I think you feel good about your secondary, things of that nature. And honestly, I think they might be in the running for Kirk Cousins, BP.
Oh, I like that. That's intrigue. And I hope that's the way it goes. I want to talk about the rest of the first round, how that could look. And if this is going to be because of, and look, fans, I think buckle up is the term, because the NFL draft is always crazier than the group think, than the media consensus and what we think of as fans going into it. I think this year it could be even more bizarre. And I'm kind of rooting for Shador to slide, because I think that could add a little bit more to it. Let's get into the rest of the first round, what that might look like, and some of Dame's favorite prospects, maybe some overrated and some underrated prospects to look out for through the rest of the draft as well on today's Peacock and Williamson next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Game Time, and Game Time is the place for finding tickets, whether it's early, late, and especially those fantastic deals on last-minute tickets. If you are a sports fan, if you ever go to concerts, comedy shows, whatever it is, you need Game Time in your pocket, and you always got to check Game Time before you buy tickets, because getting tickets should not be stressful, and that's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. I've gone to a ton of San Francisco Giants baseball games last minute. It couldn't be easier. I've gone to concerts, getting some last-minute tickets on last-minute deals on tickets that probably I wouldn't even have gone to the show, but it was like, man, half off, face value. I'm going. I'm going back-to-back nights to see this band because I got those deals on Game Time. And it couldn't be easier. There's Game Time Picks curation, which makes it easier to find better value on tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, especially those big venues, so you don't have to wade through thousands of tickets. And peace of mind, views from your seat before you buy, no surprise fees, and lowest price guarantee you can book with total confidence. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I'm really starting to like the Shador Sanders falling model of a mock draft. So if we're doing a mini mock here, Dame, let's go. Ward 1, Carter 2, Travis Hunter 3, right? In some order there at 2 and 3. Yep. And then you've got who knows what happens at pick 4, because they're not taking a quarterback with the Patriots there. And now you could possibly have some trades and have some fun. And then maybe you got to go offensive line or wide receiver at 4 instead of one of the blue chippers that falls to the Patriots. And then it starts to get really interesting. My question to you, Dame, do you think this will spur more trades in this draft because of how, there's just like, you can punch holes in almost every prospect. I can't remember a draft like this where the grade for the 4th player and the 25th player is like, the difference is razor thin for me. And I could buy the argument that Michael Williams goes 4 and he could be a second rounder, right? Shamar Stewart, 1.5 sacks a year. Like, come on, you're going to draft him in the top 10, but I could see it because of his height, weight, speed is ridiculous. And then you got the Wills, right? You've got Will Johnson. He's a corner who we don't know how fast he is yet. How do you draft that in the top 10, even though there's some awesome tape out there? Will Campbell might not quite fit at tackle for some teams, even though the tape is really good. And so I don't know what to do with any of these guys. Are there any clean prospects for you outside of the top few? And does that, in your opinion, make teams kind of just chill out? We have a boring draft with no trades and all 32 teams remain in their spots and make picks. I hope that doesn't happen. That's why I'm kind of rooting for the Shador Sanders to fall scenario, because at least we could spur some kind of action with trades. Because I have a feeling it'll be a dud because nobody feels so strong because there's not those clean prospects this year.
Yeah, I think the two cleanest guys for me is Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. I think those are the two cleanest prospects for me, and those are the two true blue chip guys. Also to me, from especially talking about safe, high floor, Mason Graham. There's been a lot of talk about his arm length and him not having the 33s and 34s, but I talk about it on the pod all the time. when I look at O-line, D-line play, yes, it's just like boxing. The tail of the tape matters, right? When you see, okay, this guy has the reach advantage, but once the fight starts, do you know how to jab and keep your shorter arm opponent away from your frame? When you turn on the tape of Mason Graham, the arm length really isn't that much of a concern. And people, some people like his teammate, Kenneth Grant, over him. And I was like, for me, I'm watching actual offensive lines pay more attention to Mason Graham than to Kenneth Grant, who's 6'3", 340. Mason Graham is a guy getting double teamed. He's the game wrecker that they wanted to keep from wrecking the game offensively. So I think he's one of my other guys who's really clean. Tape wise, I look at Will Johnson as a clean prospect. I compare him to Patrick Surtain II, and you go back to Patrick Surtain's draft profile. People were worried about his speed. You know what I mean? He had the tape against LSU. At times, you see him get matched up against some of those athletic receivers. People were worried that he couldn't run with guys. Then he gets to Denver, and he's running stride for stride with Tyreek Hill. Did he clock in at 4'3", 4'2"? No, he did not. He just understands how to play the position. So I think Will Johnson's tape is really good. Even though he got hurt this year in 2023, his tape was outstanding. This is for me, is one of the other guys that I feel is a blue chip player, just solely off of the tape. The size is there, the movement skills, the coverage ability. And then after that, it is a draft where you look at certain positions and you're just like, well, could I bypass you in round 1 and get a guy in round 2 at the same position? Like interior defensive line, yes, you could. Like if Jacksonville said, no, we want to take a corner at 5 instead of Mason Graham and look at some of these other interior defensive linemen in round 2, I'm not saying that it's a major drop-off, right? Like if you're able to get yourself a Alfred Collins, a TJ Sanders, or Josh Farmer on day 2, or if Walter Nolan somehow slips down the board to the top of the second round, that Walter Nolan, my second highest rated interior defensive lineman. Like this dude he's good.
Dude, I'm with you. Me and Crockett on Locked On 49ers have been talking about Walter Nolan at pick 11. And I started to see him slide down to late 1 and early 2. And I'm like, that off-field must be serious. And because the tape says he's an easy first-round guy. Like he is strong. He is twitchy. And, I could buy the argument that he's on par or better than Mason Graham before I'll buy the argument that he should be a second-round guy based on tape.
Correct.
But and then you've got Mike Green, who's got some off-field. And again, this is like everybody's kind of got something in this draft. Mason Graham, as good as the tape is, he still showed up 20 pounds lighter. All of a sudden, you're like, wait a second. I like the athleticism at 320 where you're listed. If you're 297, that changes everything, right? And then he's 306, but I don't think we've even seen what the workout numbers were for him at the pro day. I'm having a lot of trouble this year, by the way, Dame, finding the pro day numbers versus other years. And some guys just aren't working out at all. I was like, what do you do with these guys? They're just a lot of questions for me in the draft. James Pierce, there might be some maturity off character stuff there. He's dynamically fast, but he's kind of slim and narrow hipped. And it's like, there's just every one of these prospects like, ooh, I like that, but the complete package isn't there. So I don't know what to do with this guys. And I have no idea where any of these guys are going to go. And I think it's going to make for some really shocked fans out there when they see how surprised they are. To be honest with you, if we're talking clean, I think the guy who's helped himself the most is Armand Membou.
Oh, because, yes.
Like, he actually, he's over 6'4". People talk about him being short. I mean, do you really need to be 6'7"? No, you don't. Like, I don't care about that because he's got arm length. He's got tons of athleticism. He threw down at the combine. And so you could really start to check a lot of boxes with him and dare to dream a little bit. So to be honest with you, if we're doing that mock draft thing, I'd probably put Membou at pick 4 to the Patriots.
I've had the discussion. We ranked our top 10 tackles. I believe it was either a week or two ago on the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. Keith had Will Campbell from LSU, who I like a lot. But I love Membou, and I don't feel like he's fully scratched the surface of what he could be at the NFL level. And this is a guy we saw last year, BP. J.C. Latham, who played right tackle at Bama, drafted and then flipped to left. Talise Fuaga, who was also a right tackle at Oregon State, get drafted to New Orleans Saints. They flipped him to left tackle. And to be honest, I remember the discussion around both of those guys because they were so great at run blocking. People thought they were immediately going to have to be kicked in the guard. So I think Membou is a cleaner, more athletic prospect than both of those guys in pass protection. I think he absolutely can flip to the left side. And if you are the New England Patriots, I wouldn't be opposed to that because he also run blocks well. He gives you the 2-for-1 specials on tape where he blocks the DN and climbs up to the linebacker because he's that athletic. Talking about pulling guys, different things like that. You want to protect Drake May. You got to protect Drake May. And I think that is a real – that should be a real possibility at 4. If not, I think the Jets at 7 makes so much sense from Membou. You have Olu Fashanu, who had a good rookie year. Once you flipped him back from right to left and let him play his natural position, and Morgan Moses is now in New England, who played right tackle for you. You draft Membou and with Olu to then protect Justin Fields, to open up rushing lanes for Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. Like, you can really get some things going offensively if they were to go with Membou at 7.
So Membou's not going to be there for the Niners at 11 is what you're trying to say.
It's a possibility. Might not be. It's a possibility.
Yeah, and he reminds me of Tristan Wirfs, actually, because remember that was the knock on Tristan Wirfs a few years ago, and obviously the testing was there. He was a right tackle. He's a right tackle, not a left tackle. And then it turns out, oh yeah, that's not a thing. He's
trust the movement skills, guys. Trust the movement skills.
Yeah. Young prospect, the tape wasn't perfect, but he's a player I think that checked more boxes than a lot of other guys in this spring lead up to the NFL draft. I want you to put your name on the line, Damian. People are going to listen to this podcast and be like, at @DP_NFL, Damian Parson. These are his guys, so now they're my guys. So Damian Parson's favorites, some overrated, underrated prospects outside of potentially round 1. And then we can have some round 1 guys as well. Let's get to those prospects next. You guys got to check out Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. They do a phenomenal job daily, as we do here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And they're both going to be involved with our extravaganza this year. Once again, the Locked On NFL Mock Draft Special featuring myself and Matt Williamson and Damon Keith in the booth with us, breaking down all the picks and all the prospects as we go through every team's draft picks through round 1 and beyond. We got to get every team's first pick, but right now it's just going to be 32 if there's no trades. I mean, we need to see some action in this mock draft, Dame, just like we need to see some action in the real thing. I'm sure there's some prospects you guys argue about and see differently. Are there any that you guys are way off on?
Oh man, Nicky Minwari, the safety from South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, Keith had him. We did our top 10 safety rankings. He had him lower than I did. And I love Nicky Minwari, and I think there are some. This is a guy that hasn't fully scratched the surface of what he could be at 6'3", 220 pounds, being the 4'4" athlete. He's a freak of nature at his size, right? He wore a lot. It was a lot of thinking in times, on the field, wearing multiple hats for that secondary, different things. There's some coverage bust that he's okay. If I give up this, if I drop to this smash concept, I take the 7. This hitch is wide open. Like there's nobody here, and different things like that. And I feel like getting him in an NFL defense with a designed role early on, like the good coaches in the NFL, they simplify the game for their guys to let them play as fast as possible. That's what you want, especially from a defensive prospect. So that was a guy we were split on. Trey Amos, the corner from Ole Miss. Keith didn't have him in his top 10. I had him in mine. I had him.
Not even in his top 10 corners.
Yeah, he didn't have his top 10 corners. Him or Siobhan Revel from ECU. I had both of those guys in mind. I think those are two guys that can play press man. They can play zone. They can play off coverage. If Siobhan Revel isn't hurt, he's a first round. He's a first round. We probably see 5 corners off the board easily if Siobhan Revel and Benjamin Morrison never get hurt. Like we get Hunter, Will Johnson, I think Trey Amos, Siobhan Revel, and Benjamin Morrison. We get 5 and probably inside the top 25, honestly. And so those are two guys, 2 corners that we were separate on for sure. Like a big discrepancy. Well, there was another one. He really likes Dorian Strong, the big corner from Virginia Tech. I saw a guy that was super tight in his hips. He has to play more at the line of scrimmage, dictating the action and the pace of the route, being disruptive and things like that. I feel like there's some physical concerns with short area quickness and hip fluidity that I did not see with those other corners, Amos, Revel, Benjamin Morrison, things like that. So those are some of the guys that we were definitely definitely split on, throughout this draft season so far. Oh, Trey Harris too, the Ole Miss wide receiver. Keith didn't have him in his top 10. He's my wide receiver 4, I think, right now. I like him a lot. BP. I think this guy is 6'2", 200 plus pounds, 38.5-inch vert, 4.5, in the 40. He's worried about his vertical speed. But I'm like, for me, I'm a guy that I've been in this game for a long time, and you see guys, and it's like, yeah, like if this was a track meet, I would 100% worry about you running 4.2s all the time. But since it's not, I'm not worried about it, because I watched the Devontae Adams, even in your neck of the woods, watching a guy like Jawan Jennings be successful. He's nowhere near the vertical threat that Isaiah Bond is, or Jalen Waddle, but he's still effective in the role that you put him in, as that big body kind of X, big slot, that what you do with him. If you put guys in positions to work, they can make plays for you. And I think Trey Harris is one of those guys. He's got the ball skills, and he's one of the better man-to-man route runners in this wide receiver class that people seem to overlook. His numbers, his advanced metrics are outstanding in terms of facing man-to-man coverage.
I mean, I say this all the time when it comes to wide receivers, is you want to make a mistake in the draft, it's draft 40 times at wide receiver, man. It's almost the faster you run, you're less likely to be good in the NFL. Like I don't need 4.3, 4.2 at wide receiver. No. Give me 4.45. I'm fine there. 4.5s, early 4.5s. I don't think you want to draft guys that run 4.7s. I think Restrepo's 4.8 might hurt a little bit, right? Like, dude might not even get drafted. If that's right. The case, he's trying to say his hamstring was hurting or something like that. It's like, I don't know, man. You can't be undersized and that.
You ran routes, brother. You went on that pro day and ran routes. I don't know if the hamstring works for us.
And so, yeah. But to be honest with you, it's kind of reverse what you would normally think. Like, I want to see the workout numbers for offensive linemen. I think it's a lot more telling. I want to draft the fastest lineman and not draft the fastest wide receivers. That's kind of the way I would make a lot less mistakes. It also sounds like Keith is an Ole Miss hater. Maybe is what's going on.
He's I don't know what's going on with my guy. He's an SEC homer for sure, though. He's an SEC homer for sure. Okay. That LSU background, coaching at LSU, that 2019 Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase national championship. Yeah, he loves his SEC brethren a lot, man. But I'll say you one thing, man. One guy that's a Dames dude, a guy that I love, is Deontay Thornton, the big wide receiver from Tennessee.
I want to believe. Sell me on him, please, because I want to believe in 6'5" with all that speed.
Yes, like 4.3, like, and it's just a fact of that offense doesn't prepare you as a wide receiver for the NFL. Is a lot of widened out stances and alignment. You got, typically, yes, you see X and Z's outside the numbers, but these guys be lined up on the sideline, right?
Dude,
and
I'm glad you said that, because I was watching Deontay Thornton the other day, and there's a play where it's like, watch Deontay Thornton right here, and I'm watching the play, and I'm like, is he bunched up? Where is he lined up? And then they run the tape, and then it's like they throw the ball, and I'm like, wait a second, hold on, rewind it. And on the broadcast, he's not on the screen, because he's so far out there wide. It's like, that doesn't translate at all. But
I'm not a big fan of that offense. To be completely, as an evaluator, at least. As an evaluator, I'm not a fan of it.
And it's the right quarterback, the right offense. There's for sure some traits to work with, and it's not going to go super high either. And I mean,
no, I got him as a 4th round prospect, top of day 3. That's one of those guys. It's one of those luxury picks in the middle of rounds of the draft where you say, okay, we've hit on some of our needs early on through free agency. We took care of things, stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, like I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm terrified for Andy Reid and Brett Veach to be sitting there like, yeah, 4th round, and he's on the board. Like, yeah, why not? Like, we need to get a guy like this to pair with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy. And then we're talking about a big arm quarterback with Pat Mahomes, one of the best play callers in the league, and Andy Reid. They're going to figure out how to get this guy the ball. And I think like there's upside with him run after catch ability as well. And he's out. Like, I think Kyle Shanahan would love him for the simple fact of he's an outstanding blocker. Like, this dude hunts defensive backs. He gets his hands latched. He runs his feet. He is physical. He wants to put you in the dirt. He blocks like you would think he's a tight end with the mentality he has as a blocker. And I'm like, yeah, offensive coordinator is going to love that, because you know the phrase in the NFL, if you don't block, you don't get the rock. So you got to block for teams when they run the ball. Deontay Thornton is one of the guys I'm going to pound the table for. I could potentially see him getting selected maybe late third, but I think top of the fourth is what we might see his name called.
I'm sold. I love it. Dante Thornton, he's moving up on my list. That's all I needed to hear there. I just want some reasons to believe, and you gave me those right there. But you mentioned something there, and it almost ticks me off because you can see it coming in slow motion. The way this draft is lining up, and you see the Chiefs at 31, the Eagles at 32, and they're just going to sit back and are they just going to sit there and get like Luther Burden and Walter Nolan and just like these making dudes because nobody knows what to do with these guys and everyone's kind of ranked similarly. That worries the heck out of me. I don't like it at all.
It's coming. I'm looking at the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Eagles. Those are the four teams that are going to sit back at the back end of the round one. They're going to let the guys that these anonymous scouts are saying, oh, this guy's a headache. This guy got this off-field problem. I don't want to touch this guy. Then you're going to wait, and you're going to let them fall right into the hands of the perennial playoff contenders. And then you're going to be mad in 2 years when, like the Jalen Carter thing, I will never understand the Bears' decision. You had him at 8. You traded back with the Eagles. You took Darnell Wright, a right tackle, who's been solid, but that is an elite player that you said, no, I don't want. And now he's a Super Bowl champion 2 years after being drafted. Getting cute come draft day is a problem in the NFL. You don't see it as much in the NBA, but the NFL, these teams will talk themselves out of anything if they feel like it.
Oh man, don't get me started on the anonymous scouts too. Some of the stuff these guys say, I'm like, no way you can be.
Put your name on it, man. Put your name on it.
Dude, and they're just wrong too. It was like, dude, you're getting paid to evaluate. Like, come on, don't listen to the anonymous scouts.
I have some stories I probably won't say on air that some of my scouting buddies have told me, and I'm just like, yikes. This is it's not a good look for the NFL from some of the things I've heard.
Oh, no doubt. But and I can also see how teams have to be careful. And if a prospect really does have some really bad off-field stuff, and you don't want to poison the well, you don't want to bring bad characters into your locker room, and I understand that, and so you have to be smart about it. But some of the stuff, even just the pure evaluations, and like we do know that these teams absolutely make some mistakes. So my advice: don't listen to the anonymous scouts. Listen to Damian Parson, Keith Sanchez, Locked On NFL Daily right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you are tuned into our NFL Locked On Mock Draft Special Extravaganza that is in pre-production. It's going to be coming to all of the feeds near you. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Dame, really appreciate you jumping on with me today and hanging out with Williamson being out. And I learned a lot from you, and I always do when I listen to Locked On NFL Draft. Thank you so much for stopping by.
I appreciate the invite, man. Anytime. And tell Williamson anytime he wants to, take a vacation, I'm always around.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll send him packing for a few weeks if we need to get this conversation going before the draft. No, I appreciate it, man. Everybody check out Dame at DP_NFL. You can find me at BD Peacock. Of course, subscribe here to Peacock and Williamson as well. Back tomorrow with Matt right here, Peacock and Williamson.